Welcome to helpingtesters.com. In our previous sessions, we have learnt about some of the C basics in terms of C variables, and we have seen some of the arithmetic operations, and also we have seen some of the string operations. Now let's look at about the control structure. So let us understand what is the control structure. So if we divide, control structure is nothing but which would control your execution of the program. Let's say here if you look at this program will be executed sequentially one after the other based on the lines that whatever we have written. So control structures will control the way of execution your program executes. So let's learn about some of the important control structures available in your C language. Those are nothing but if control structure, and after that along with if we will be using else, and also we will be using while, and also we will be using for control structure, and also we will be using do while. So let me align this properly. So this is the do while statement. Okay, these are the very basic control structures and important control structures we will be using in our day-to-day life in your virtual user data. So let's take an example with the very first statement called if statement. So if statement is used to compare a condition. Let's say we know that 1 equal to 1, right? So 1 is always equal to 1 and 1 is always not equal to 2. Okay, so this is how we check the conditions using with the help of operators. So let's say we have two variables, int 1 equal to some 5 and int 2 equal to some 5. So if we are trying to compare whether the both the values are equal or not, we will be using if statement. So let's look at how we achieve that. So here in C language, instead of using 1 equal to, in order to compare anything, we will be using 2 equals. It means if both are equal, then the underlying statement which is in the brackets will be executed. Let's say I'm printing some statement using LR output message. Both numbers are equal. So I'm printing it now. So if 1 equal to 2, then first value equal to second value, then it will print both value equal to, both values are true. So let me change some value and let's check whether it will compare, it will go with the actual comparison or not. So 6 never equal to 5. So that's why the statement will not be executed. That is nothing but LR output message will not be executed and it won't be printing in your output statement. Let's consider a situation. So when these are not equal to these two values are not equal to each other, then we want to print something else. Means we need to say both are not equal. So for that purpose to use that, we will be using other statement called else. Else is nothing but whenever your first statement of if fails, then only the else will be executed. If your condition fails here in if condition, let's say 1 equal to 2, whenever that becomes false, then the underlying else code will be executed. Now let's look at whether it is executing or not. So far when we verified, this particular statement was not executed. So now it would be executing because we have added else statement. So just I'm running it. See, it has printed the else part of it. Both are not equal. So make sure that just remember if else statements how we are writing in our programming language, in our virtual user generator for a web HTTP script. We will be using if else statement extensively whenever we are trying to implement some of the complex scenarios. So make sure that you are thoroughly properly planning and thoroughly following up this if else statement, and if you are able to understand it, it would be helpful. Now let's look at other control structure that we see in for statement. So let's say you're trying to print something 5 times or repeatedly. If you would like to do something, some activity repeatedly, so for that purpose we will be using for statement. So first statement basically takes three things. The very first one is initialization and test condition, and after that it would be either increment or decrement. So we need to decide which what we want to do. Okay, now let's do one simple activity. Let's say we want to print hello 10 times in our output log. So let me write a simple code for that. So to write that, so we don't need to use any of them. Instead, just we need to have a one simple variable called loop. So here we need our target is to say hello 10 times. So where we need to start? We need to start from the first iteration, or first we need to start from the printing first statement. So until how many times we want to print, we need to print unless until the value becomes 10. So what we need to do here, since we are starting from the 10 and we need to print it 10 times means, so we need to increase one after the other, one by one the value we need to increase for the loop. So just copy the value loop and just loop plus plus. It means the value will be increased. So plus plus is an operator which will be by defaultly incremented by 1. So loop plus plus is the statement which increases the existing value of the whatever the value loop has by 1. So for the first time it would execute the loop equal to 1, and then it will go and print underlying statement of the for, and it will go and check the condition. If loop less than or equal to 10 means 1 less than or equal to 10, then it will go and increment the value. So let's look at whether it is really printing or not. So in output statement I'm writing something hello here. Okay, let me run it whether it is really printing the hello here 10 times or not. If you look at, so hello here has been executed or printed 10 times. So first statement is also one of the mostly used statement, or we will be using this is extensively in our web HTTP script whenever we're trying to create some of the complex scripts. Now let's get into other control structure, that is nothing but while. While is also works similar way like how for loop works, but in for loop we mention the condition in your bracket itself, but in while loop we can explicitly mention condition when to break your while loop. So your for loop will execute until your increment or your condition fails, but in case of while execute unless until you says it to the break. You need to explicitly tell the while loop to break the condition or come out of the loop. Unless until it will never come out of the loop, it will keep on iterating. So let's take an example. So I'm trying to print the again 10 times. So loop equal to, so while we'll just simply take the condition. So while loop less than or equal to 10. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to print statement some, okay, hello here. Similar statement we are trying to print here. So whenever you're trying to do this, so while loop will never exited because we have to explicitly assign out of the loop for the whatever the variable that you're trying to use in while loop. So here I'm assigning loop value equal to 1. So you need to explicitly, as I said, you need to explicitly mention the condition, otherwise your while loop will never come and exit and it would get into infinite loop. So here I have not added any condition to break the while loop. So let's look at how it breaks. To break the condition, so it would be executed only for 10 times to validate that condition. So I just have added one more statement, so called as loop plus plus. It means we are incrementing value for value whatever is there under loop, and it would be incremented and verified every time. For each and every iteration it would be verified, and it would be checked with the condition called number less loop less than or equal to 10. So whenever this loop value reaches to 10, so it would be breaks. Okay, whenever okay, it's not 10, it's 11. So whenever the value reaches to the 11, this condition will break and it will come out of the loop. So this is one way to break your loop. So let's look at whether it is breaking or not. After that, we will be looking at the other way of breaking your while loop. So here, so it has executed 10 times, then it was broken. So sometimes instead of executing it 10 times, I want to break my while loop at fifth statement itself, or I want to execute before 10. Actual condition needs to break. So now I want to break my loop at whenever loop value becomes 5. So for that I have added one special statement called break. So break is used to explicitly break your while loop before reaching the end of the statement, or if you want to explicitly break your while loop and if you want to commit out of the multiple iterations, so you can use break. So here I have used if condition within the while. So what it will try to do, if condition, if condition will try to compare the loop value with 5. So whenever the loop value becomes 5, then it will come and exit the loop. So let's look at whether the break is really working or not. So it's done. So we have printed, it has printed hello 5 times only because you have added the condition loop equal to 3, loop equal to 5. So when the condition met, and it broke in the while loop. So this is how your while loop works. Similarly, there is one more control structure that we have already discussed about, that is nothing but do while. So do while is the statement which is similar to while. Instead of that, while loop executes whenever your condition satisfies only, the while loop go and execute the underlying statement. So instead, in do while loop, it would execute at least one times the underlying statement whatever you have written under your under your statements. Let's say hello here. So the only difference between while and do while is do will be executing the output statement at least once without checking any conditions. So let's say after that I'm putting loop plus plus. Whenever loop reaches to 10, it needs to break. So here it would, at least without checking the condition, it would print the hello here at least once. Based on that, again it will go and continue with the loop. So let's check it whether it is happening or not. See here, this output hello here is executed at least one time. So let's do a count. So this 3, 3, 6, and this is totally executed 10 times. So this is how a do while statement. The only difference is it will execute this statement at least once, where while loop doesn't execute without passing the condition. So these are the some of the basic control structures and some of the basics about C language that would be used very widely in your C language, in your virtual user generator scripting. Thank you.